I got into a conversation with Sebastian Gorka, the good doctor, former Trump aide, of course, in the White House when he was president, to ask him what was going on with the announcement that we all knew was coming, because nobody was very sure if Donald Trump was going to run or not. And he sent me a picture of himself on his way to Mar-a-Lago. So, Dr Sebastian Gorka, welcome to the show. One of the great pictures I've ever been sent, I think, on the phone while I was in the air. How did it all go? It all seemed to go very well.
Hey, Mike, I got a bone to pick with you.
Yeah.
You're swanning in and out of America. You don't even come to my studio in D.C., and then you don't even come to Mar-a-Lago for the most historic event of recent history.
I know.
What are you doing?
I should have timed it properly, but I was under strict orders from my mother, and she's one of the few people who I obey without question, and I can never turn down an invitation to go and see her, and if I leave for any other reason, you know, she'll cut me out of the will, so I can't do it. But it looked like it. Let's have a quick look, actually, at the Donald and what he said last night.
2 years ago, when I left office, the United States stood ready for its golden age. Our nation was at the pinnacle of power, prosperity, and prestige, towering above all rivals, vanquishing all enemies, and striding into the future, confident and so strong. In 4 short years, everybody was doing great. Men, women, African Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, everybody was thriving like never before.
Well, quite an event by the looks of it, Sebastian. Tell us about it.
It was remarkable. It was a who's who of the conservative movement. We planned for about 500. It was about 1,000 people packed into the ballroom of this beautiful, exclusive private club that is Mar-a-Lago. And then the president gave one of his best ever speeches, because he spent very little of his time talking about himself and what they've done to him, which he has every right to do given the persecution he's been put under. And he talked about the future. It was so heartwarming. There was a moment where he stepped away from the podium, put his hand on his heart, and said, "We are going to restore pride in America. This isn't my campaign. This is your campaign." And then the most I'm getting goosebumps right now. The most stunning of all is he declared war on the swamp. He said, "When I'm back in office, we're going to ban lifetime lobbying for former politicians. We're going to have term limits for politicians. They are going to do everything to destroy this man," because he said, enough of the corruption. I'm going to come in, I'm going to sweep house. So I'll tell you something, Mike, we're going to have a lot of fun chats over the next 2 years.
And they have tried pretty much everything, haven't they? I mean, they've tried, taking him to court. They've tried criminal charges, civil charges, impeachment. There's literally nothing left in the locker. Even after Tuesday, where results, you might say, didn't go that well necessarily for him, it's almost like the Republicans don't want him back as well. So what's all that about?
Well, it's the establishment Republicans. It's the old boy network that doesn't want him back, and that's why he's got to run. He gave us the stats last night. 232 wins and 22 failures for his candidates. I would say that's pretty good. In the primaries, when he's nominating people in our party, he had a 98% victory for his candidates. So the media is peddling this garbage about how it was a failure. Hang on, we fired the Speaker of the House. Nancy Pelosi, bye-bye, you're gone. And the Democrats...
That's a very worthwhile episode in itself, isn't it?
It's huge. This woman who is sold to us as the arch strategist of the Democrat Party, she's gone. We already have the rumors that she's going to swan off to Rome as our ambassador. Lord preserve the Italians from Nancy Pelosi. So no, this is...
Is she going to take the $26,000 fridge with her?
No, she's probably going to have the $100 per gallon ice cream delivered from America to Italy, the land of gelato. Right. So no, we fired her. That is an indictment of the last 2 years. And there was this one line again: "I am going to guarantee Biden doesn't get another 4 years." Why? Because the American people can't survive another 4 years. 2 million illegals, 9% inflation. The price of petrol has gone up 3 or 4 times. I mean, this cannot be sustained, and he's the man for the job.
And the big problem I saw there, Sebastian, I was only in Connecticut, I wasn't really in the city at all, but diesel prices double now what regular petrol prices are. Over $6 for diesel, it's unheard of, isn't it?
Not only that, shockingly, just a couple of weeks ago, there were reports that we are on the cusp of a diesel shortage, and the national reserves are minuscule by comparison to the petroleum reserves. So you know everything runs on diesel. You don't get food to the corner store if you don't have diesel trucks. In America, it's doubly so because of the size of the country. But the fact that we still have, I don't know if you follow this story, we still have baby formula shortages in America. There's a lack of baby formula. We put men on the flipping moon, Mike, and under this administration, if you've got a kid, if you've got a newborn, you may not be able to feed it baby formula. This is what you can do to a nation in just 2 years, and that's Biden's America, and it has to be stopped.
And what does he say to Ron DeSantis? He's in Florida, President Trump. I mean, DeSantis, obviously, you've tweeted about him before. He's seen as the kind of heir apparent to Donald Trump. Is there any way they get together at this point?
Look, he didn't mention Ron at all, which is good. And I try to remind my fellow Americans, I find this funny as an immigrant to America, to remind them, we have a process for selecting candidates. It's called a primary. We don't anoint people 2 years before and say, oh, it's got to be Ron. No. Let's have a competition. We had 17 people on the stage in 2015, conservatives. They vied for the position, the candidacy. President Trump won. And by the way, if Ron's smart, okay, what he does is he comes into a Trump administration, either as the vice president or a cabinet member, proves his, cojones on a national level, and then he slides into the presidential position in 2028. That would be the smart thing to do, Ron. If you're listening, Ron, you know I'm right.
Yeah. This is the thing, this idea of kind of anointing political leaders, as they've done with Biden, because he's been in the game for such a long time. I mean, we've seen the result. Where our Daily Biden segment continues, and today's one was worse than ever, where he literally admits on camera at a press conference, I can't read this. And that's it. You're kind of going, well, you can't carry on like this, surely to heavens.
That was one of the funnest moments last night, a little bit of humor injected by the president. He said, we've got a president who falls asleep at global international conferences, and then he thanks the host, identifies the wrong nation. It's not just the wrong nation, the same hemisphere. It's the wrong continent.
Yes.
Colombia is not in Asia, Biden. And this is the man who's got the nuclear football, Mike.
Oh, my God. Listen, great to talk to you. I promise next time I come, I'll be straight to D.C. I'll be there. Thank you very much indeed. Dr Sebastian Gorka, former Trump advisor, of course, host of America's First, the show, the podcast. He's on Newsmax as well.